So the first thing I'm going to go over is a little different than most people's first aid talk, and that's I'm going to go over communication. And I've said this multiple times in articles I've written and other forums, and it's a little bit controversial, but I'll say it again, and that's that if you die in this day and age because you don't have a form of communication, I don't care where you're at, how remote you are, if you die because of that, you're an idiot, okay? In today's day, with so much technology, for a relatively small investment, or even just a marginal investment of renting something for a trip, you can have reliable, good communication in a serious emergency. And all this other stuff can temporarily save you, but the thing that's going to save most people's lives is communication, where they can get immediate help on really serious stuff, serious injuries, serious conditions. If you don't have communication where you can get outside help in the wilderness, or even stuff where you're just a couple miles off the road, if you don't have that direct contact, it's going to be very hard for you to save yourself. That's the reality, okay? We all like to talk about these stories of guys walking out where they chewed their arm off and all of that. You can do that, but that was his arm. It wasn't his femur, right? Or something that's truly time sensitive, okay? So keep that in mind. You got to have communication. I'll drill that into everybody's head. The two best options nowadays for real remote stuff are these InReaches by Garmin. They make several models. You can Bluetooth them to your iPhone, so it's really handy. What I do is I'll turn this on and I'll set it in the back of my backpack, and then I'll have it Bluetooth to my phone, and that way I can communicate at will via text message with whoever I need to. I use them for coordinating a lot of logistics with my guides, but you can just as well use them to talk to people at home. If you need emergency help, all that, it's reliable through here. The nice thing about these is it also gives out your location, okay? And you can control that. You don't have to give it out to everybody. You don't have to give everybody your hunting spots, but it's nice to know that other people know where you're at all times, as long as you run this every once in a while, okay? So that's the InReach by Garmin. This is the Explorer model. And because I'm just Bluetoothing it to my phone, I don't really care about the keypad and stuff like that. So this is kind of the value model. They've got a bunch of new ones. The one thing you might consider is they have some of them that also have that are combined with a nice handheld GPS, and that's just something for you to consider based on how you operate. If you already have a handheld GPS or you're thinking about getting one, you can combine them both into here, okay? And then the other one you can do, and really this is more of a rental thing for most people, and that's that you can get a sat phone. They're pretty darn reliable, but to be honest, they're not quite as reliable as the text messaging devices. They run on the same satellite network, but the thing about the text messaging devices is you can passively use them, right? So you can send a message on your phone, and it'll send it to the device, and then as you hike around, it's going to hit satellites. It's going to send that message, okay? So I call that slightly more reliable than the actual sat phones, because when you use a sat phone, you have to have the satellites when you make the call, or you will lose the call, okay? And then the other thing I'll tell you about these sat phones is on the voice. Like, voice is nice to have in a lot of situations, particularly in an emergency. It's nice to be able to rapidly communicate back and forth, and that's an advantage over the text messaging devices. But what this will do is it slows, you get a lagging effect. It's not like poor reception on a cell phone where you get like crackling and that sort of thing. You get a bad lag on a sat phone. So it's just something for you to consider, because sometimes it actually sounds like you're intoxicated. So if you're talking to family or whatever, you might kind of forewarn them that these phones will do that to your voice. So keep that in mind. To me, the disadvantage of these is they don't send out location to the people that you're communicating with. Sure, the actual Iridium satellite services, you could dig down in there and they have your location. But let's be honest, in a real emergency, it's nice to just have that as a part of the system, okay? So, but that's an option. There's several companies. I used to use mobile, mobal.com, to rent these. I used to rent like 20 or 30 of them a year. They no longer actually in the rental business, but there's several other online sources for rental phones. You can rent them by the day, by the week, or whatever. You're basically looking at $15 to $20 a day once you account for shipping and everything to have one of these, okay? So that covers communication. Two-way radios and that sort of thing. They work to some extent. In topography, they're really not that great. If you've been in an area a bunch and you know they work there, you know where they do work and they don't work, they're fine, but they're fine. But I wouldn't use them as my main source of a safety communication mechanism. Okay, but let's jump on to the items in here. Okay, so outside of my